Are both foreign and domestic.
This weekend, emotions erupting across the country at town hall meetings held by members of Congress. Many of the protesters angry about the Republicans' promise to dismantle Obamacare.
And Hollywood is also turning up the volume, with Meryl Streep giving a tear-filled anti-Trump speech overnight. ABC's Gloria Rivera is covering it all from our D.C. bureau. Gloria, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan. That's right. Scenes filled with anger and raw emotion are playing out across the country as voters really on both sides of the aisle vent their frustration. It is in some ways reminiscent of 2009, when those opposed to former President Obama, many Tea Party members, faced off against Democrats. Also vocal overnight, Hollywood. You might have heard of Meryl Streep, and Saturday Night Live have their take. Across the country, angry voters exchanging heated words with Republican lawmakers. Tempers flaring in town halls from Florida to Wisconsin as dissatisfied Americans demand answers.
Let's all be respectful. Let's hold our booze and let's hold our catcalls and our
Lashing out at the GOP's push to repeal Obamacare.
I am 77 years old, and I think it's unconscionable for this politician to tell me that at 74, I will be facing death penalty.
Investigate! Hollywood also reacting. Meryl Streep speaking at the Human Rights Campaign Gala in New York City, directly responding to President Trump's comments earlier this year after her blistering Golden Globe speech, when he called her overrated. Streep saying the whip of the executive can, through a Twitter feed, lash and intimidate, punish and humiliate. Saturday Night Live delighting in antagonizing Trump's inner circle.
We know she's okay because she's blonde.
Melissa McCarthy returning to the show with her unhinged portrayal of White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer. Are you kidding me? Are you And she wasn't the only woman to take a swipe by lampooning a key male figure in the administration. Kate McKinnon debuting her impression of Attorney General Jeff Sessions. And Leslie Jones even hinting at a future turn as the president herself. One day replacing Alec Baldwin, who hosted last night for a record 17th time. President Trump, who has appeared on Saturday Night Live, has previously tweeted the show is unfunny and the cast terrible. He said that in the past. As for those town halls, GOP lawmakers across the country continue to hold them. Several more are scheduled for today. Dan, Paula.
A lot going on. Gloria, thank you. For more on all of this political news this morning, let's bring in our heavy hitter, ABC News chief anchor, George Stephanopoulos.
Hey,
good morning, my friend. So does the left and Hollywood run the risk of seeming shrill here and really playing into Trump's hand?
I guess that's possible. I really think that on this one, the president and his allies and Hollywood sort of talk past each other and ended up not just convincing their own sides. Far more consequential, I think, is what you're seeing happening at these town meetings across the country. If this pressure, if this opposition begins to convince Republican politicians, Republican members of Congress, that they have to break with President Trump, particularly on the issue of Obamacare, that could have a significant impact.
Yeah, those seem to be the heartbeat of the country. Let's get back to this missile launch with North Korea. How big of a challenge do you think this poses for the president?
It's a bit of a test. As Steve Gaynard was talking about, you've seen tests now both with North Korea and recently with Iran as well, although they didn't cross that line and actually test an intercontinental ballistic missile, which is the red line that President Trump has called for. But I do think you're seeing the president, both in his meeting with Prime Minister Abe and his phone call with President Xi of China over the weekend, where he said he now is standing by the one China policy, that his Asia policy is coming into focus, and he knows he needs both South Korea, China, and Japan to hold an alliance against North Korea.
There's a real difference between being on the campaign trail and being in the White House, and we're seeing that shift now. Speaking of the White House, you have a Trump advisor, Stephen Miller, on the show this morning. He's a really young guy, 31 years old,
yeah.
And he's emerged as such a powerful and controversial figure in the White House. Why is that?
He's got profiles in both the Washington Post and the New York Times this morning. He was an aide to Senator Jeff Sessions on Capitol Hill, became a close advisor to President Trump during the campaign, even was a warm-up act for him out on the campaign trail. But along with Steve Bannon, he's seen as one of the real ideological activists inside the White House, the driving force behind that executive order, the travel ban, which is why he's become something of a controversial figure. But he is very, very powerful inside the White House now, driving a lot of policy.
And lastly, Trump's been tweeting this morning about those ICE deportations, saying he's just fulfilling a campaign promise. Do you think ICE just feels emboldened under this new administration?
Well, we'll see. If you look at the president's executive order, it does have a quite expansive list of priorities beyond drug dealers and criminals for those who can be deported. You're seeing the resistance step up here. Also to watch for here is that you now have Mexicans saying they're going to call on those who are subject to deportation to challenge these in court and actually to jam up the courts in response. You're going to see an action-reaction cycle here between the U.S. and Mexico.
A lot of anger and fear out there.